So, actually, in the old days, we used to do this. Of course, old days. I was always out on book distribution, usually for most of the time on Janmashtami. So when I say the old days in the 70s, we used to just read Krishna book all day. That was, as I actually, yeah, Krishna book all day. Huh? And of course, it's a famous pastime. I think it was in New Vrindavan. Prabhupada also was reading with the devotees, Krishna book. Devotees were nodding out, and yeah, that's how Prabhupada requested devotees should observe it. So, phones. Yeah, put it on silent mode. Nobody ever calls me, so I don't have to worry about it. But I'll put it on silent. They know better to call me. Uh, but I'll put it on silent mode anyways. What was I saying? Oh, I was talking about reading Krishna book all day. Yeah. Anyway, so I thought we'd try it, although we can read from Ananda Vrindavan Champu for some time. And it's a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice. Any attempt to stay fully engaged in Krishna service is always a sacrifice. Devotees oftentimes experience that their absorption levels, tolerance levels are limited, and sometimes they find the need to rest the mind, the body. And Janmashtami in the early days, it was non-stop all day. Yeah, all day. From 3 o'clock in the morning to 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, it was usually non-stop. And that's when we were at the temple. And of course, we're always busy cooking feasts. And devotees preparing decorations, decorating the altar, decorating the deities, dressing the deities, bathing the deities. In the afternoon, deities would get their flower outfits. Devotees were making flower outfits to the last moment, and then garlands to put on the altar. And garlands were being prepared for the next day for Srila Prabhupada's Vyasasan, for Vyasa Puja. And generally in Boston we had a devotee. His name was Ladvamsi, and some of you may know him. He had a flower business, and he would always donate so many flowers that we had enough flowers to decorate the city of Boston. And so the devotees were always very eager to use those flowers to their full potential. So they were busy all day on Janmashtami. Guests were coming throughout the day. There was receiving guests, distribution of Mahaprasadam to the guests, and the guests coming in the evening also being received at the door, and then coming in for darshan. And I'm mentioning all that because we don't have to do any of those things today. So much. Huh? No, well, I'm a guest. You can treat me like a guest, but you don't have to receive me. But so it's a full day of engagement, and I also have to confess that I would also chant extra rounds on Janmashtami sometimes, and in later years, I would sometimes, under the circumstances, I would just decide to chant 128 rounds and give my talk in the evening, and then that was it. But things changed over time. I don't do that so much anymore. I think the last time I chanted 128 rounds in Janmashtami was probably about 6 or 7 years ago. But if we don't have a facility for, if within our own minds for increasing our hearing and chanting, then we can take advantage of this facility. And stay as long as you wish and participate as long as you wish. Read as long as you wish, chant as long as you wish. Lead kirtans if you wish, and that's an open invitation to everyone. And so we'll begin by reading from, I wanted to read from the chapter, beginning with chapter 2, on the appearance of Lord Krishna. But there's a few paragraphs at the end of the first chapter's auspicious prayers and descriptions of Vrindavan. I'm going to skip that and go right into the appearance of Krishna, except there's some relevant, very relevant to Krishna's appearance at the end of the first chapter. And I'll begin with reading that. Begins in third paragraph from the end, for those who have it. Huh? Same file. I discovered it's the same translation. Yeah, it's the same translation. Same file, which is, I also sent an EPUB file. I don't know if you got that also. I sent that this morning to you. Yeah. So, from the descriptions in the first part of this chapter, it is understood that Rajamandala, although completely spiritual, is situated within the material world. A person afflicted with jaundice sees a white conch as yellow due to the disease's effect on his vision. Similarly, a person with mundane vision sees Vrindavan as a material place. Out of his independent will, the Supreme Lord desired to appear in this world as the baby son of two personalities named Nanda and Yasoda, the internal embodiments of parental affection. What is impossible for the Leela Shakti, or pastime potency of Krishna, who is the origin of all avatars and the ocean of all pastimes. Interesting. I have a tendency when anytime I read something, at least within the last several months, I reflect on my readings from Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And as soon as I read here the origin of all avatars, then I think about how many verses, commentaries, of our previous acharyas, the time that we spent with the emphasizing how ete chang sakala pumsa Krishna stu bhagavan svayam, that Krishna is the original, supreme personality of Godhead, the origin of all avatars, who manifests throughout creation in various forms, and in each of those forms which he manifests is particularly to accept the mood of service which his unalloyed devotees have, and he reciprocates with that mood by presenting himself in a form which their hearts and their minds are fixed on. And we discovered a whole variety of different forms that Krishna manifests in Vaikuntha, Krishna manifests in the upper planetary systems, Krishna manifests in this world as the Acha Vigraha, in the deity form, and he performs his playful pastimes with his devotees who worship him in that form. And how we also discussed whenever he appears, he is always accompanied by his eternal consort who comes with him, and she also appears in a form just suitable to please the Lord, in the form that he manifests in these different places that he appears. But as we know, that when Krishna descends to this world, as he says, he comes in his original transcendental form. Ajopi-san avyatma bhutanam ishwaropi-san. He comes in his original form, and when he comes, then all the other forms which are manifested, and the unlimited varieties of places where Krishna is eternally associating in Vaikuntha with his associates who love that form, all those other forms, they enter into Krishna's form. And they descend with him. Now, as we read also in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, his descent in this world may appear to last for 125 years, according to the calculation of time. But when Krishna descends and he brings all his other forms with him from Vaikuntha in his body to perform the activities that they ordinarily perform of killing the demons, fighting in various ways, Krishna doesn't do that. And Vasudeva Krishna does that. But when they descend with him, then it appears that they leave Vaikuntha. But not for very long. Just as Sanatana Goswami describes, just as in the amount of time it takes them to ask, where's Krishna? He's already back. Because he's already back. It's not that he's gone and because there's no time in Vaikuntha. There is no time. But it's just a momentary departure. And then a question. And then before it's even finished, the question's even being finished, asked, he's returned. But his pastimes in this world, when Krishna descends in this world, then not only does all his forms are eternally manifest with him, but the sequential manifestation of his forms, from babyhood to boyhood to youth, they take a sequence. And the devotees, as as Kavi Kanapur will soon describe, the devotees descend to taste a special sweetness, which is not accessible to them in Goloka. Special sweetness of his babyhood pastimes, specifically his birth. There's no birth. There's no birth. Krishna doesn't take birth. But he appears to take birth. And he takes birth as the son of Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj, as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. And so we see in this world his different forms through a sequence. I think it's Rupa Goswami describes in Laghu Bhagavatamrita that all these different forms of Krishna, his young baby form, boyhood form, his youth form, they are all existing in Krishna's body eternally. But they manifest whenever his devotees want to manifest in the spiritual world. And devotee wants to see Krishna in his babyhood form, Krishna's babyhood form is there in his eternal form. And he manifests just fulfill the desire of the devotee. Here already? So, wonder what's going to happen when I start reading. So Rupa Goswami explains this, that they're all, and in fact, I think Kavi Kanapur says it here also. Huh?
This is the end of
First chapter. Yeah, maybe I'll just read it. One may object, asking, why does Krishna perform pastimes in the material world? The only reason is to give pleasure to his devotees. In order to reveal the mood of parental affection arising from the activities of babyhood, and so on, Krishna agreed to become the son of Nanda and Yasoda, accepting their care and attention. The omnipotent Lord covered his majesty with an unprecedented sweetness. By exhibiting all the different stages of boyhood, such as Kumara, Poganda, and Kaishora, the Supreme Lord appeared like an ordinary human being. But throughout these stages, Krishna remained in his original form as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although Madhurya Ras is predominant in Vrindavan, the previous verse has only mentioned parental affection. The reason for this is that all the pastimes, with the cows, the gopas, I'm sure that means also the transmission. The reason for this is that all the pastimes with the cows, gopas, and gopis also go on eternally in the spiritual world, but Krishna's babyhood pastimes and the pastimes of killing demons exist only in Gokul, in the material world. Thus, one should understand that the sweetness of Bama Lila is not available in the spiritual world. This is what Rupa Goswami explains elsewhere, as I said in Laghu Bhagavatamrita. He says that these forms exist, although Krishna's birth, there's no birth in Goloka, but they happen unlimited times. There's no sequence. Krishna, and Sanatana Goswami also says this in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, that Krishna lifts Govardhan Hill unlimited times. Just according to the desires of his devotees. And it happens unlimitedly. But here, it is the sequence. But there's no sequence. It's whenever the devotees want to see it. And the devotees always want to see it. So all his pastimes are going on there in that way. Because he's, he reciprocates exactly what's there in the heart of the devotees, whatever they want to see. They want to see this form, they want to see this pastime. Someone may say, well, how do they know the pastime exists if they didn't see it before? Because each time they see it, it's ever fresh. It's like the first time. But it's the mood that they have. And because they have that mood, Krishna responds to their mood. I'm only repeating what Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami elaborate, or should I say, describe in both Laghu Bhagavatamrita and Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Such is the nature, just like Sanatana Goswami says a lot about Krishna going to Mathura. He goes to Mathura and kills Kamsa unlimited times. And every time he goes, everyone falls down into an ocean of lamentation, separation, and the intensity of their separation and their attachment, of course, increases. But it happens unlimitedly. And each time he goes to kill Kamsa. And Kamsa gets killed unlimited times. So, but Kamsa doesn't exist there. Because there are no demons in Goloka. So there's no demon to be killed by Krishna in Goloka. So who's Kamsa? Yogamaya arranges for some Krishna to kill some Kamsa. Again and again and again. Just like when the Kavi Kanapur also explains in Ananda Vrindavan Champu, when the gopis were feeling intense separation from Krishna, and they began imitating Krishna's pastimes in separation. One gopi would become Krishna, and Krishna would actually enter into their bodies, and they would actually be like Krishna. And it's even explained that they had sufficient power to act like Krishna. Krishna would manifest in them, and he would suck out the life air from the breast of Putana, and another gopi would become Putana. But Kavi Kanapur explains that no gopi would want to become Putana. That's not favorable devotional service. Who would want to be absorbed in the thought of being Putana? What gopi? So, although it seems that another gopi has become Putana for Krishna to kill that gopi and suck out her life air, Yogamaya arranges for a gopi to become Putana. And it looks like a gopi, but it's not a gopi. It's Yogamaya. Just like again, you know, like when all the gopis went to the rasa dance, and Yogamaya arranged for all those gopis to stay with their husbands. So they thought they were with their wives, but no. Gopis actually, they went with Krishna when he called them to the sound of his flute. So Yogamaya arranges. Yogamaya just arranges all these things. Krishna doesn't have to think about making all these arrangements. She does it all so perfectly for him. So in the same way, these gopis, they appeared to be, one gopi appeared to be Putana, and another gopi who was absorbed in Krishna's mood appeared to be killing Putana. Trinavrata. No gopi would want to become Trinavrata, demon. Again, Yogamaya arranges. So in the same way, Yogamaya arranges for Krishna unlimitedly to go to Mathura, although Krishna never goes because he never leaves Vrindavan. But they think he goes to go and kill Kamsa. And it appears that Krishna kills Kamsa, and it happens again and again and again and again and again in Golok. But here, this sequence. So same thing with Krishna's, after his birth, his babyhood, his boyhood, his youth, everything in Gokul moves in a sequence. And then in Goloka, this is what Rupa Goswami describes. It happens unlimited times, no sequence, but it's there eternally. Those moods, those forms, and Krishna's reciprocal attitude to those moods also exists in Goloka eternally. But because there's no time, we have no ability to calculate when does Krishna do it. Because really, our tendency is immediately to put the question, how can things go on unlimitedly, simultaneously? This is his inconceivable nature. So when Krishna comes to this world, he comes and he brings his associates with him, especially those associates who want to get a taste. And that's why Mathura is described, or should we say Braj? Braj, it's Mathura, but the gopis in their prayers to Krishna, they say that they use the word Braj. Krishna appears in Braj. And because that particular place where Krishna appears is even more auspicious than Vaikuntha. More auspicious. Why? Because in Vaikuntha, Krishna doesn't take birth. But in Braj, Gokul, Krishna takes birth. Or at least he lets those enjoy that pastime of his birth, who are very, very eager to experience it and relish it, and they get the opportunity to come with him and taste it here. So that's the introduction